Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ayyam al-Fatimiyya has come, and yet again we are bombarded with a lot of shubuhat and questions regarding the martyrdom of Lady Fatimah. We've answered most of these shubuhat and questions. However, this one that I want to address today seems to be newer than the others, so please pay attention to this one. They say if Lady Fatima was actually martyred and Amir al-Mu'mineen was weeping and mourning for the lady, why didn't he hold mourning ceremonies and commemorations every year for the lady, especially during that 4.5 years of his apparent khilafah? Why didn't he do so? That's a very important question. Before answering, we should know that the Shubha aims to prove that Lady Fatima wasn't martyred and she just passed away right after Rasulullah, which is a big event, and we cannot claim it simply for a lady who is at the age of 18. Anyway, putting that aside, we should know that something, if it is proven in Islam by authentic means and evidence, like Quranic evidence, Sunnah of the infallibles, and the riwayas, authentic riwayas of the infallibles, and many other things, we don't need all the infallibles to act upon it in order to say that this practice is authentic. No, some of them could act upon this practice and some of them couldn't. It depends on the situation and political circumstances of their time. So getting back to our question, yes, Amir al-Mu'mineen didn't apparently hold any public mourning ceremony for Lady Fatima sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But this doesn't prove anything, because this mourning ceremony holding commemoration is proven in Islam through different means. Please stay with me to go through all these evidence. For starters, we should know that holding commemorations and mourning ceremonies for Lady Fatima is to remember her hardship and what she went through to safeguard wilayah and the imamah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So remembering is the primary goal. So we have this in Quran as well, where in Surah Maryam, ayah 16, and Surah Maryam again, ayah 41, وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ مَرْيَمْ وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ. In both of these ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us to remember these two significant personalities. Why is that? Because to remember their hardship, to remember what they went through, and take lessons from their actions. This is also applying to Lady Fatima. If we hold mourning ceremonies, if we hold commemorations for Lady Fatima, it's not just to weep and cry. No, the commemoration is to remember what she did and take lessons from them. This is the first one. In a very important and Sahih hadith, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam recounts what Amir al-Mu'mineen has said to his companions about 400 chapters that can be helpful for the faithful in their religion. This part is very important. The Imam alayhi salam says, إن الله تبارك وتعالى اطلع إلى الأرض فاختارنا واختار لنا شيعة ينصروننا ويفرحون لفرحنا ويحزنون لحزننا. The Imam alayhi salam says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen us and has chosen a Shia for us that help us, assist us, and they are happy for our happiness and they are sad for our sadness. What does it mean? It means when you are holding mourning ceremonies and commemorations for Lady Fatima, you are practicing this very hadith, and I'm telling you, this hadith is authentic, and all the chain of narrators are authenticated rawis in Shia Rijal. Another point is that in the Noble Quran, verse 32 of Surah Al-Hajj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Meaning that whoever holds in honor the symbol of Allah, it is truly the sign of piety in the hearts. So in this ayah, Sha'air Allah is counted as one of the necessary things for piety, to be a Muslim, a true faithful. So let me ask you this question. What is one of the very immediate signs of Sha'air Allah? In Shia especially. If you ask any and every marja and mufti of Shia about Sha'air Allah, maybe the first or the second thing that comes to their mind is to hold dear the Ahlul Bayt of Rasulullah. قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his book says, the only ajr, the only reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked for the noble Prophet of Islam for all his efforts in 23 years of preaching Islam for those ignorant people is just to express the mawaddah, the companions, the people, the Muslims, express the mawaddah to the qurba, the close of kin of Rasulullah. And the riwayat backing the meaning of the qurba to be Lady Fatima, his spouse Amir al-Mu'mineen, and their sons Hassan and Hussein, and the infallible Imams in general. I think all of these points are more than enough for a true Muslim and Shia who doesn't have any sickness in their heart, according to Quran, to believe that holding commemoration for Lady Fatima is based on true Islam and authentic evidence. Let's get back to the main question. Apparently, Amir al-Mu'mineen didn't hold ceremonies for the Lady Fatima. Does it mean he didn't approve such ceremonies? Well, to answer this one, we also another practice for the Imam Ali salam. In the Surah Tawbah, verse 18, we have that maintaining the masajid, the mosques of Allah, is the sign of being a faithful person. During his caliphate, Amir al-Mu'mineen didn't maintain and didn't expand the Masjid al-Nabi. Does it mean he didn't approve this ayah? Of course not. Or during his caliphate, he didn't go to war with the infidels, with the pagans. All of his wars was with the Muslims, unfortunately. Doesn't mean he didn't approve going to war with the infidels, with the kuffar as well? Of course not. It means that during his time, the circumstances didn't allow him to do something which is approved in Islam, but unfortunately he couldn't practice it. Apparently, we cannot find solid evidence from the era of Amir al-Mu'mineen for holding mourning ceremonies for the lady, but this practice can be found during other infallibles' lifetime. For example, it is said that Imam al held mourning ceremonies and wept for the lady, or we have this report from a Mu'tazili person called Dharar ibn Amr al-Ghaffani, who lived during the era of Imam al-Qadim alayhi salam and Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, who's written this in his book called At-Tahrish, that the Shi'as were known for believing that Lady Fatima was martyred by the hands of those two, and they held mourning ceremonies for the lady, and they were killed because of that. This is very important to know. This report indicates that the ceremonies were held at the Mar'a wal Mandar. It is called right in front of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam and Imam al-Qadim alayhi salam. And they didn't issue any order for the Shias to refrain from doing so, meaning it is approved by these two Imams. Yeah, Islam is the religion of equilibrium, meaning that happiness and sadness should be kept in balance. So if you are always happy or always sad, it is against the solid teachings of Islam. However, we have 10 days of mourning for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam according to Amal al-Saduq, which is narrated based on the practice of Imam al-Qadim and Imam al-Rida alayhi salam. We don't have 10 days of mourning for Lady Fatima. Yeah, it is based on custom. Some people hold it 2 or 3 days before and after the martyrdom date, 75 days or 95 days. Or some of them start before and end at the date. Some of them start at the date and end 4 or 5 days after. It's based on the taste of different people in different regions. But it's not something against Islam or against Shia. Because holding 4 or 5 days of mourning and commemoration for the lady doesn't mean that you're always sad. And it doesn't mean that you're out of equilibrium in Islam and everything. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to share your thoughts with us in the comment section down below. And stay tuned for other shubahats to be answered. Fi amanullah.